We often assume that a goal we want to accomplish is too big for us. But let's take this to consideration. There was once a young woman who wanted to establish a sales agency to sell mobile homes. But she was told by many people that she shouldn't do it because they believed she couldn't do it. After all, she had less than $3,000 and was told that even the cost of establishing such an organization was way too much. Not to mention she didn't have much experience in selling homes or let alone a business. But she didn't let those factors stop her. She believed in her ability to succeed by first admitting she knew how difficult it was to be in that business and that she lacked experience. But she worked hard by studying her competition and found ways to do a better job than them. And this belief and confidence won 2 investors who helped her build her business. And within a year, she sold over $1 million worth of trailers. And the next year, she grossed over $2 million. Now, the reason I share that story that was from the book was to show you that this book isn't really about positive thinking. It goes deeper than that. It goes into the study of thinking big and the belief that you have in yourself. Now, the first point he goes over is prevent yourself from making excuses. Now, before we get to the main point, let's talk about Benjamin Franklin, who was born into poverty and didn't start off with an easy life. His family didn't even have the money to complete his education at school. And to escape the harsh life his family had lived, he continued expanding his knowledge by reading numerous books to gain the advantage he needed over others. He used that knowledge to influence people and create inventions and concepts that we use to this day. But even after reaching his success and becoming one of the founding fathers of this country, he didn't wish for an easier life because he liked the challenge and humility he was born into. Benjamin saw the reality of his situation and accepted it and pushed himself to become greater than he thought possible. And most people you come across with in life will always give themselves a reason as to why they can't do something. People tell themselves that they're too old, their health isn't good enough, or they're too young, or not smart enough. I think you understand. And when people don't succeed, they come up with excuse after excuse until they make themselves look like a victim. But the problem isn't really that people are not thinking big enough. It actually points to the fact that they're thinking big, but they can't imagine themselves ever making it to that point. They underestimate their own intelligence and capabilities. They assume people who made it to the top solely relied on luck and talent. But luck doesn't really exist for successful people. If that was the case, Benjamin Franklin would have never reached the place that he did. Rather, it's the ability to accept your failures and learn from your mistakes that matter. Instead of wasting your time on wishful thinking, concentrate on trying again and again until you do succeed. Yes, it's crucial that you think towards a big goal you want to accomplish in the future. After all, you don't want to set a goal that's super small and can be accomplished shortly. It's like telling yourself you want to lose 50 pounds one day, but because of how difficult that seems, you only settle to lose 2 pounds before you give up. If you're constantly giving yourself excuses like, I'm too old, or I'm not smart enough, you'll always find a reason as to why you can't do something. Don't focus on what you can't do to get towards a long-term goal. Focus on what you can do, your daily progress, and learn from your previous failures. Now, the second point this book covers is to run towards your fear. Now, let's look into this story. There was once a criminal who had committed a crime, and when he was sent to the king for his punishment, the king told him he had 2 choices of punishment. The first punishment was to be hung by a rope, as the second was to take whatever was behind the big, dark, scary door. The criminal quickly chose the rope, and before he was hung, the criminal asked the king what was behind that door. The king then laughed and told him that freedom was behind that door. But it seemed most people were so afraid of the unknown that they immediately chose the rope. The simple note is that our action towards the unknown cures fear. It's our procrastination that grows our fear. And the more you take action, the more you realize that some of the previous fears you had before weren't so bad after all. But the more you grow worried about what may happen, the more your fear increases. There's a story of this guy whose name I won't mention. But he was once scared of quitting his job because he didn't want to be broke. And in a way, it was hard not to blame him. After all, he had a family to take care of, and the risk was too high because he didn't have enough money to live without a job. But that was when he realized if he never took the chance to do what he always wanted, when would he? He didn't realize he didn't have to quit his job. All he had to do was manage his time and save his money by working on his own craft after he got home from work every day. Instead of going out every night to the bar to meet his friends and waste his time and money there, he would spend his time building up his craft so he could learn how to make money off it. That way, once he did become a master of his craft, he finally had the chance to quit his job and do what he always wanted to do for a living. Now, the last major point this book covers is to manage your environment. There was a woman who always wanted to write a book, but her boyfriend constantly told her no one would ever read it and her writing was awful. As you can see, this made her stop writing, but every day she would have a burning desire to write that book that was in her heart. And when people had asked her what her dreams were, she would always tell them it was to get her own book published one day. But when they asked her what was holding her back now, she would repeat the same negative feedback that her boyfriend always told her. And after telling people the same answer repeatedly, she didn't realize those words were never her own. They were conjured by her boyfriend along with every other negative idea she had about herself. So after dumping him, she was finally free to no longer hear the negative words he constantly told her, and she finally wrote the book she always wanted to write, eventually becoming a bestseller. The biggest problem to success is our negative thoughts. It's when we think that major accomplishments in life are impossible to attain. And the way you manage the belief you have for yourself is to surround yourself by people who build you up. If you're constantly around people who say you're not smart enough, stay away from them. If you spend a lot of time with people who encourage you to constantly waste your time by being lazy or avoiding greater responsibilities, find people who enjoy building themselves up instead. Because when you're looking for advice, you have an easier time at getting it from successful people instead of relying on those who continue failing and making the same mistakes. And when you do encounter negative people or events, don't let it change your thoughts or behavior. Overall, the point this book makes is to stretch your own beliefs. Don't be scared at the thought of losing weight or being successful, because it is possible once you get past your fears and develop a plan of action. Once you believe you have the ability to achieve something, negative events or negative words don't hurt you anymore. And that's the magic of thinking big by David Schwartz. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this video and hope you have a great day today. And if you have a book or idea you want to see in the future, just comment below and subscribe. Alright guys, peace.